I said it on international TV as well. At the time, people didn't understand. Trinidad and Tobago has immediate capacity to produce LNG, ammonia, urea, UAN, which are all fertilizer based on unnecessary and methanol. And we're next to proven reserves, 17 kilometers of pipeline away in Venezuela. And that is what picked up traction. So when Europe and other countries need LNG and ammonia, we have an immediate solution, not today for today, not today for today, not today for today, but we will fill a big global void in the need for LNG, ammonia, urea, UAN if we get access to proven reserves of gas. That is 17 kilometers of pipeline that can be done in a very short time frame in the scheme of things. That can be done in a very short time frame in the scheme of things. That can be done in a very short time frame in the scheme of things. Not today for today, not today for today. So you will recall when I went on CNN International with Richard Quest, that was the message. At the time, it was not understood, but it was part of the strategy, and it was understood where it needed to be, because we ended up with an OFAC license that no one else has. Venezuela. You will recall in 2016, we negotiated that first memorandum of understanding. Very quickly in 2018, we had a commercial term sheet. We had agreed with Venezuela the price of gas, the allocation of gas, and that gas was set to come to Trinidad and Tobago by 2020. That gas was set to come to Trinidad and Tobago by 2020. That gas was set to come to Trinidad and Tobago by 2020. The next thing that happened, sanctions came under a certain US administration that shut that down. I could not pursue the deal because the operators, Shell, would go nowhere near it because of fear of sanctions. We did not give up. We very quietly came up with a strategy that we implemented as soon as possible, a change of administration in the United States, all of the time maintaining our relationship with Venezuela. When we were in the middle of COVID, and our borders were closed. When we were in the middle of COVID and our borders were closed. And when we were in the middle of COVID and our borders were closed. And the vice president of Venezuela, who remains the vice president today, Delcy Rodriguez, wrote to us diplomatically and said, I would like to come to Trinidad and Tobago. Wrote to us diplomatically and said, I would like to come to Trinidad and Tobago. I would like to come to Trinidad and Tobago. And I, as the Minister of National Security, on the advice of the Prime Minister, allowed the Vice President of Venezuela to come to Trinidad and Tobago. The opposition led the charge on behalf of President Guaido, who they don't know where he is today, to say that the Prime Minister, they wrote to the United States government that Prime Minister Keith Rowley and Stuart Young should be sanctioned. When we were in the middle of COVID, and our borders were closed. And the vice president of Venezuela, who remains the vice president today, Delcy Rodriguez, wrote to us diplomatically and said, I would like to come to Trinidad and Tobago. And I, as the Minister of National Security, on the advice of the Prime Minister, allowed the vice president of Venezuela to come to Trinidad and Tobago. When we were in the middle of COVID, and our borders were closed. And the vice president of Venezuela, who remains the vice president today, Delcy Rodriguez, wrote to us diplomatically and said, I would like to come to Trinidad and Tobago. And I, as the Minister of National Security, on the advice of the Prime Minister, allowed the vice president of Venezuela to come to Trinidad and Tobago. When we were in the middle of COVID and our borders were closed, the opposition led the charge on behalf of President Guaido, who they don't know where he is today, to say that the Prime Minister, they wrote to the United States government that Prime Minister Keith Rowley and Stuart Young should be sanctioned. To the United States government that Prime Minister Keith Rowley and Stuart Young should be sanctioned.
We have continued to undertake our constitutional responsibility. We have called on government to account for their misguided and reckless actions, which could seriously jeopardize our nation. From the onset of the crisis unfolding next door in neighboring Venezuela, We have sided with the vast majority of the Western Hemisphere and the entire civilized world, who all agree that democracy and the rule of law need to return to Venezuela. We have demanded that the Rowley government provide greater transparency in their dealings with the Maduro regime. This is now even more crucial, even more critical, given that on the 26th of March 2020, the U.S. Department of Justice indicted Mr. Maduro on charges of drug trafficking, narco-terrorism, and money laundering. It should be obvious to everyone how serious these charges are and what it could mean for Trinidad and Tobago. The very next day, on March 27th, after these charges on Mr. Maduro were made, Trinidad and Tobago opened its borders. We had shut those borders due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And we opened borders to allow the Vice President of Venezuela, Madam Delcy Rodriguez, and a contingent of personnel into the country. It should be noted that Vice President Delcy Rodriguez is currently sanctioned by and also banned from the US, Canada, European Union, Mexico, and Switzerland. We were told by the government that the reason for this visit was to discuss strategies for COVID-19. What exactly were those strategies? We were never told. The Prime Minister has not provided any details about this visit, in spite of multiple requests, and his own statements on the matter has provided no clarification. In fact, it is perhaps safe to say that the public remained unconvinced that the Venezuelan Vice President's visit had anything to do with COVID-19. We have not been told when the request for a meeting was made, by whom or to whom. Our country has not been told by the Minister of Health, and we should ask, was the Minister of Health or the Minister of Foreign Affairs or any health personnel from our side, was anyone present in that meeting at all, given that they told us it was for COVID-19 discussions. We have not been told what quarantine or health measures were implemented to facilitate the Venezuelan Vice President's entry. We are not told if she was allowed to visit any other establishment in our country. We have not been told what, if any, discussions have been had with representatives of the United Nations who have imposed sanctions on the Venezuelan Vice President. In fact, we have been told nothing, except that this meeting was about COVID-19. The entire episode remains shrouded in deliberate secrecy. I have in my possession what purports to be a copy of a Trinidad and Tobago Form C5, which is a Customs General Declaration, content aircraft, which I presume to be a passenger manifest for a private Venezuelan flight on the 27th of March 2020. This and other documents were sent to my mailbox by a clearly concerned citizen. I'm in no position to vouch for the authenticity or veracity of these documents, but I offer them forward in the public domain to request the Prime Minister to tell us whether these documents reflect what happened on that fateful day of March 27, 2020, and the persons who arrived in Trinidad and Tobago. I would like the Minister of National Security, Stuart Young, to tell the nation that along with Madam Delcy Rodriguez, whether he provided clearance for other passengers on that flight. I have here in my possession the Customs General Declaration, content aircraft, inward-outward form. Some may call it a flight manifest. This records the arrival of an aircraft. It states that the aircraft is owned by PDVSA of Venezuela, and you know, PDVSA, Venezuela being a sanctioned country, that raises serious questions. The particular aircraft,
welcome to the corridor.
The number is given as YV3360, and you would see it from the U.S. Treasury press releases that this is one of the documents, this is one of the aircraft owned by PDVSA, which is under sanction. So we have these documents.
Yes, indeed. Professor, good night.
Yeah, LENNOX Smith, what are you doing?
Well, of course, but we continue to work hard. We continue, of course, to spread the gospel of, imagine the gospel of truth. Imagine you have to do that in Trinidad and Tobago today in a democracy. As we continue, of course, to examine past and current and not so long ago conduct of this administration.
Well, LENNOX, let me give you all the gospel of the truth on another part of the world right now where it is. Right now, I'm not in Trinidad right now.
Okay.
Calling from Canada.
Okay, great,
Right?
great.
And here what going on.
Mm-hmm.
You see where Rowley and the independent government do Christmas list?
Yes.
That thing have a ripple effect even out here and out. Here is why. When I leave Saturday,
Uh-huh.
not Sunday morning to come Canada, I went to get some Canadian currency in the airport in Piaco.
Right.
They tell me all finished. So I said, right, like if there's anything when I reach in Canada, I will see if I get some currency.
All right.
When I reach in Toronto airport here now, and I say, right, I'm going to get some money change.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the young lady, I say good morning. I say, I have $300. I want to know if I can get the $300 change.
Mm-hmm.
She took the $300, she watched it, she opened some book with her different currency and stuff, and she said, but wait now, this is Trinidad and Tobago dollar. I say, yeah. And she, we don't change that here, you know.
Wow.
And she, you don't have US? I say, I have US, but I ain't ready to change it. I want to change this $300 TT. The woman tell me they don't change that here.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
These people, they may know. And mind you, I have to apologize to one or two of the Canadian people in here who I interact with at the nonsense this PNN government do Christmas list, you know.
Mm-hmm.
On behalf of Trinidad and Tobago, you know.
But I want to thank you, of course, for doing your human, or should I, human and patriotic service to Trinidad and Tobago on your own volition as a Trinidadian, a Trinbagonian, and of course in an attempt to remedy the damage, the pain, and the ache, and the foreign policy destruction that this government has imposed on the population unwittingly and without our consent. So I want to thank you for that in the first instance. And frankly, I'm not surprised that that is the case. Right here in Grenada, they use Trinidad and Tobago $1 bill to decorate what we call here maxi taxis. Well, over there they decorated there. It has no value as far as I'm concerned. Of course, when they come here, they exchange the EC, and they get, of course, I think it's two point something dollars TT for one EC dollar. So yeah, I am not surprised. And what else would give you the impression that the Christmas list issue has repercussions negatively for Trinidad and Tobago in Canada? Any other?
Well, I ain't started engaging people fully yet, but normally when I'm talking to them and they ask me where I'm from, I tell them I'm from Trinidad, and they were like, but I remember like 11 years ago when I was up here, and I tell them I'm from Trinidad, I can feel happy telling that I'm from Trinidad, and then they ask you, you know, what people in Trinidad just do. That was 11 years ago, but now when I say I'm from Trinidad, they just leave it as that.
Oh, I see. So you're seeing a difference in attitude, even though they may not be, even though it may not be outwardly expressive, but certainly from comparing the experience that you would have had in the past, you believe your conscience, in other words, is pricking you because you know what the government of Trinidad and Tobago has done to Chris List. Is that a proper interpretation of your experience?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes I didn't say for them, let them know that I'm from Trinidad and all too.
Wow.
But I end up meeting one or two Trinities here and all too.
All right, you see,
Indian people I should say more Indian people I should say.
Yeah, so you see,
because
government,
this area right in here, there are plenty Indian people.
Plenty. This government has lost its way not now a long time ago, and all the signs were there. And what you're seeing is a climax of that level of destruction. So that people, it doesn't end there, because if that is the case, it means that investment in Trinidad and Tobago, because remember, Canada, apart from the United States and European countries, including the United Kingdom, would have given advisories against Trinidad and Tobago, saying to their citizens, if you're coming to Trinidad to vacate or vacation, or you're coming to Trinidad for business, don't go. That's the advisories that they have. And don't get me vexed because this time I will not prove it. I will ask you to prove it. Go on any one of these websites of the embassies or high commissioners that are operating here in Trinidad. Just go there now and just keen advisory against Trinidad and Tobago, whether it's Canada, whether United States, whether it be United Kingdom, whether it be Germany, whether it be Italy and France, etc. And you would see for yourself that they tell the residents do not come to Trinidad, but if you do come, there are specific places do not go, including, of course, Nelson Street and the Queen's Park, Savannah, around the airport and new places now. I think St. Augustine has become the latest in the list of places not to go. Imagine that, the place where we consider to be our academic or educational city or capital of Trinidad and Tobago, and indeed the Caribbean. And that is the kind of negativity that this government has brought onto the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Any other comment you would like to make at this point?
Well, I want to say two quick things before I go. Well, I saw today that the rob they are seeing some gold neck bracelet in the hand.
Yes.
And two, LENNOX, me like to tell you yesterday I went for a little walk where I stay here and watch her. You could feel and you could see a sense of calm in this place. You know. Imagine until I walk in and I see elderly people. They could be in the late 60s, early 70s. They're riding bicycle in the street, you know. Husband and wife, you know.
Yes. A far cry from where you have come from. A far cry from home. Yes.
Playing in the streets.
Yes.
You're walking and you can meet people and talk to them easy.
Yes, indeed. Could somebody out there, of course, tell us what's the murder toll to date, the latest? I have lost count. In fact, I refuse to, of course, follow that because all I see on a daily basis in the newspaper is negative. Who chop up who douses somebody with gasoline and catch them on fire. And I mean, these harrowing experiences cannot be in a real place. But let us go straight to the lines as well. So thank you very much.
Listening. All right.
Let's go straight, of course, into the lines and hear what this caller has to say. Pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
California here.
Yes.
You hear me, LENNOX?
Yes. I only get foreign calls. I only get foreign calls. So I say, well, when they say California, I thought you was in the United States, but I realized we have a California in Trinidad as well. So go ahead, my friend. Somebody just called from Canada.
No, I will disturb you.
Really what?
You know, I will disturb.
Yeah, go ahead, my friend. Let me hear about what.
Here what going on. It had to do with property tax, but I will make a thing on the ground report tomorrow, but I saw this too, I'll call you and talk to you. Here what going on. The sale is property tax, right? But it's not property tax, boy. Right? A rental value tax to start with. Right? And so secondly, if it's a property tax, then you have to value your property and you have to be taxed on the value of the property.
Right.
But this rental value thing, that don't exist. The same way they can tax you for a rental value, the same way they can charge you for a murder that you can commit, that you can commit. Because you're not renting your property, but they're charging you a tax. Because they can say, well, it's like you have an intention to do. The same way you could have an intention to kill and they can charge you for that. Now, here we're going on with this property tax. When you work out the money that you would pay for the valuation of your property, and when you work out the rental value, it's two different prices, two different set of money. They're robbing me, boy. If you think what I like, right? Let me say a property value $120,000. Right? The 2% of that $120,000 will be less than if you're paying a rental value. Because here we're going on, that same $120,000 value you value your property for, them charging you 2% like if you're renting that property for $10,000 or more for the month. And that property for 120,000 can't even give you 5,000 or $6,000 for the year.
Yes.
Because if you're talking like 500 or 600 a month. You understand what I'm saying? So the value is completely different to the rest. Now, here in LENNOX point in LENNOX, I want you to listen to this good. What is happening here? It come like you renting from the government. So the government own your property. Understand that, LENNOX?
I hear you. I hear you.
That is charging you a rental value because you renting from the government. Your property now belongs to the government. How they can charge you for a rental value and you are renting your property? And I'm telling you that if you was renting it, right, they put a rent at 10,000 for the month and they could come up with 3,000 or 2,400 for the year. And if your property only value 120,000 or 80,000, you will be paying plenty less if you would give me the same 2%. LENNOX, I want you to check that. Oh, I sit down with a paper and a pen till I'm walking on my thought. And that matter. Who will argue with this court in the council? How the hell them win this? Listen, this is work for the UNC. I will call back. I want to hear what you are saying.
I hear you, my friend. I hear you, my friend. I could only, of course, respond based on what is in the public domain. And that is that the property tax is calculated based on a theoretical and abstract value. In other words, they assume based on the local, based on the development of the particular area, they assign a rental value to that particular area, and then your home, if it is located in that area, in other words, if it is in a well-to-do area as opposed to a non-well-to-do, that is why the 3% was vehemently opposed by those in the well-to-do areas in Valsain and Goodwood Park, etc., where, of course, it appears that this government only would acknowledge the concerns of the well-to-do and the rich in this country. So when they said, well, listen, when they do their calculations, they realize that there was something wrong, just as this scholar, they protested, and true to form, the government then came and said, well, we move it from 3% of the percentage that the 20% of the rental value to now 2%. So they reduced it by 1% and then said, well, listen, mission accomplished. So I am saying all that to say that it is that according to the government, it is a fictitious or abstract or imaginary rental value, and while, of course, as the caller rightly said, it is nestled in an abstract or invented rental value. That is the basis on which, that's the argument that has been advanced as to why it is that they have come up with this this formula, for want of a better term. But that being as it may, I want to tell you as well that there are persons who are extremely concerned with in spite of the fact that it has been reduced by 1%, the eventual formula component to evaluate or to arrive at the ultimate decision that you are getting in your mails today. There are a number of discrepancies which I hope tonight we'll be able to clear up by your own experiences. Some people have two addresses and two different valuations. For example, they've gotten two letters and all that. So the chaos and the mayhem continues within, of course, that system. Typical of this government. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Yeah, good night. I just can you click the way the Alfing City rob him.
Yes, I understand his son. A caller just calling there from Canada. He's a Trinidadian, but in Canada now, and says that that his son is robbed. What has been your understanding, if any, of the incident?
I don't know if Terence Alfing making up that.
Oh, I see.
You see, you can't trust them, man.
Yes. Yeah, because they're looking for sympathy. They created these, what I consider to be phantasmagorical stories. You one thing you cannot, not even Hollywood, as some people would say, could make up stories like Rowley and this government.
Yeah,
one day they say something, the next day it collapses in reality, and then of course they go on and manufacture the other fantastic story. It collapses, and then they go on and on and on. I say, get the hell out of office, man. You are a nuisance. You are inimical. You are dangerous to Trinidad and Tobago. The entire government has weaponized itself against the people and must be, of course, eliminated with of course, immediacy. But go ahead, my friend.
Yeah. So I'll let me send the clip and probably you can highlight it, you know. But I know he's trying something.
Yes, I'll do a check. I'll do a check.
He come. Yeah, he come. He look like he here.
I hear you. Yeah, and with this government, as I said, well, of course, you see, here it is a caller is calling saying that what we learned from the first caller, that Dayal Singh's son has been robbed. Here it is, you have a caller in disbelief. In other words, will not believe it because the stories that would have been given to the population over there, they have lied to come into office. They have lied to stay in government. They have lied to get another term, and now, of course, they are lying through their teeth. Even though, of course, the reality is that all and sundry, very few in Trinidad and Tobago, including, of course, those sycophants. Just imagine on the ground report this morning, a woman called in and said, well, listen, PNM until the dead, etc., etc. Not one iota as to why. Not one iota as to giving maybe an opportunity for others to say, well, listen, I share your view, but give me some tangible evidence that I should join you. And I say join you because it is a process, meaning that if I have to join someone, it means therefore I have to be convinced that something which has been expressed, I know can concur with, I know can accept, but clearly that is not the case. And of course, as a consequence of that person, of course, will remain like the cheese, alone, outside of the reality of Trinidad and Tobago. You cannot, in this contemporary time, you cannot just say you love something for loving's sake. As I argued with a friend of mine, a Canadian friend of school vintage, let me put it that way. We went to school together, secondary school. And he was of the view that somehow the so-called Indian party, the Indian in Trinidad and Tobago, are people that will take advantage of the African community, and I had to disabuse, for want of a better term, change his mind on the phone when I, of course, highlighted and gave him the litany as to the woes, I should say, and the endangerment of the African community in Trinidad and Tobago, and of course confirmed by the very so-called Prime Minister, African man, claiming that somehow he don't like bananas, or somebody give him bananas and he's not a monkey, etc. And then, of course, most recent, he will say nothing could be more African because he decided, of course, to move away the 3 ships on the emblem of the country and, of course, replace it with the pan. And somehow he believed that is the latest in what I consider to be a comprehensive and one-stop shop opportunity to, of course, disrespect us with his racial and, of course, very, very, what I consider to be obscene tones of a racist nature, and believe that somehow because there would be he expects that several parts of the community will be better appreciative of that gesture as opposed to others, and from that basis believe he can waltz back into the office of Prime Minister. I say that in a pink donkey he will not see and cannot see and must not see, because the overall consensus, if not the unanimity, is that they are dangerous. The PNM, that is, they are toxic, they are evil, they are diabolical, they are a sin in motion, and of course cannot be countenanced and must not be countenanced by the population in general. Of course, I want to say last night that the UNC and the political leader of the UNC was in fact on a roll, so to speak, engaging the population, and on that occasion, of course, was a very, what I consider to be, excoriating of the Minister of Health for having the audacity, and again, nestled in the bold-facedness, that Kamala Prasad Bisesa, and they identify and hold on like opportunistic parasites. Yes, opportunistic parasites. An opportunity presents itself to a parasite and they leech, and like leech, they hold on. So, of course, he tried to be the savior, the spokesperson, advocate for health workers in a scenario that Kamala Prasad Bisesa would have, of course, betrayed them, would have been insensitive to them, when she said in uncertain terms that not only was the vaccine fake, not only that, but she was able last night, of course, to convince even, I'm sure, the sycophants, those who may have had a different notion coming out of the nonsense and the misinformation, disinformation, and clear propaganda of the Alsing, self-serving, and of course self-gratifying, and wanting, of course, to suggest that somehow that the opposition is anti-nationalism, is anti-patriotism. But once again, it failed. It had, of course, its value in the sense that for him, he had some, what I consider to be academic or intellectual steroidal bout. Yes, a steroidal bout. He was on steroids because he said that Kamala Prasad Bisesa would have made a mistake and therefore he's going to capitalize on it, only to find out that he was living in a fool's, and continues so to do, all of them, all of the government officials, in a fool's paradise, because she made it very clear last night that listen, the vaccine was fake on several grounds. One, how the hell the Prime Minister, the man who advocated taking vaccines, could have gotten COVID after he got his doses of the vaccine? And then it is logical that something has gone terribly wrong with that vaccine, whether it be AstraZeneca, whether it be Pfizer, whether it be any of the other Chinese vaccines that we were told were purchased, Sinopharm, etc. But of course, we were not given the price, the cost, even though right next door in Guyana, their population knew from its government, and that is how we expect a government to operate transparently, and told the people of Guyana how much they paid for a dose of the vaccine. Up to now, we have not been told. And we know there's something sinister, we know there's something corrupt in that whole process. A pleasant good night.
Yes, pleasant good night, Mr. Smith. I know you're in Morgan there.
Oh, yes. He died, I think they said of prostate cancer. And about 3 or 4 days ago, I'm on air right now, so you are exposed right now on air to the world. So I don't want you to say something that you may not wanted the rest of the world to hear. But I'll do my program now. We're finishing at 10 o'clock. Sorry, I mean, we're supposed to be at 9, but usually we go at 10. Yes, so let me confirm that yes, he has died, and I don't know, I've not yet touched base with the obviously bereaved relatives, but certainly that is a reality from my information.
Yeah, my
as
daughter
well.
texts me and tell me that she spoke to the son.
Yes.
And he died on the 12 in his sleep.
Oh, I see. So I would want to, because I understand he was hospitalized as well. All of that has to be confirmed. Yeah. So.
Right,
so maybe he had
okay.
died in his sleep, nothing wrong with that, but you could sleep anywhere and die. But I understand he was ailing a bit. All right?
Okay,
then.
right,
Yes.
right. All right, Mr. Smith.
All right, yes. Well, nice for you to, of course, let the world know that one of our community activists has passed on. Yes. All right, then. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes. Bye-bye. Yes, indeed, people. Of course, let me just pause in my presentation, of course, and not in defense of Kamala Prasad Bisesa. Let's get it clear. We talk facts, whether we are on the ground report, whether we are on the Real Media TT, whether we are the Corridor Transformation, or whether we are on the Observers, or any of the other platforms that is associated with us, including, of course, the that workers' right platform. As well, and others. Let me say categorically, this is not about being biased, but it's about laying the truth as it is, and to debunk, and to decry, and to denounce the level of hypocrisy, the level of manufactured issues that has no bearing in the reality. But this government, in an attempt to hoodwink you, to vote for them to stay in office, we must be able to say yes and no, depending on the circumstance. And so far, every single thing that they would have told us that is of significance to Trinidad and Tobago has turned not just to the biblical pillar of salt, but also to ashes, frankly, burnt beyond recognition, the utterances of this government as far as major issues are concerned. But I was making the point before I touch on Kamala Prasad Bisesa's defense of her statement that the vaccines were fake, by she indicating that if we only contracted the COVID more than 3 times, it means that therefore the vaccine had to be fake. But she went further, of course, to indicate, and I'm being generous here, missteps, again, based on lies and deliberate attempt to deceive the people. That is why I say to you out there in Trinidad, outside of Trinidad, that the Rowley administration needs to be taken to the International Criminal Court for how it handled the COVID. Matters not how they glorify themselves. Matters not how they gave themselves self-praise. The reality is that having regard to the resources, $22 billion, for which they have not accounted and have still not accounted in spite of the comments of the opposition leader, this so-called parallel system, a major player of which would have been the Cuba Hospital, constructed by the UNC and under Kamala Prasad Bisesa between 2010 and 2015. Let's not waste time. In addition, of course, to a facility, although not totally completed and occupied, the DB faculty to start with law, so as to give people in the South and Deep South a greater convenient accessibility, and therefore logistically more prudent to get a university education by, of course, putting a campus in that part of the country. And that is logical, that is acceptable, that is obvious. Of course, I want to tell you this, as we are talking about the DB campus, and we are talking about, of course, the hospital, Remember, it was Rowley administration in this, whether the first or second dispensation. And I must add, never to be again on a permanent basis. That is my position on the matter as far as the PNM is concerned. It has robbed the poor, they have misled the entire nation, and have taken food out of our children's mouth, literally, and of course, abstractly or figuratively. That's what they have done to us. But it was Rowley who said that he was prepared to make an arrangement with the University of the West Indies. For what? Well, of course, it has never materialized, it has not materialized, obviously, but it was a grandiose plan to have, of course, that campus in the Bay, and that, of course, of the Children's Hospital in Cuba. I still call it Children's Hospital in Cuba, constructed by, of course, Kamala Prasad Bisesa and the UNC between 2010 and 2015. To make an arrangement with the university to have them, of course, manage that particular facility. And, of course, the laudations associated with it, teaching opportunity, practical experience, and all of that, you know, because in this field, you need to have a certain amount of experience to, of course, administer medicine, diagnose, and be prescriptive towards, of course, convalescence or remedying a particular ailment. But I make that point to say that Kamala Prasad Bisesa did construct the debate facility as an extension of UWI. Well, I want to tell you this. There was a point in time when Rowley, mark my words and read my lips if you can, without my presence in front of the camera on the corridor transformation tonight. It was Rowley who was vehemently opposed. You must say, vehemently opposed to the UWI. You must say, I say that Rowley was vehemently opposed to UWI. And don't get me vexed before I find the blasted clip and let you know that, because he was in Diego Martin. And there was, under the Kamala Prasad Bisesa, an initiative, of course, to generate additional scholarships and a deeper association with UWI. And Rowley was opposed to that. And guess what? He used as his major plank of opposition. He said, people, listen carefully. He said that while Kamala Prasad Bisesa is so unpatriotic, I'm paraphrasing here, because he was rooting for what? For the University of TNT, the Trinidad and Tobago University of Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, people, which was in its nascent stage, if not in its early infancy or embryonic stage. Yes, or in a stage of formulation for implementation. And Rowley said that Kamala Prasad Bisesa was unpatriotic and therefore she should have been given these scholarships to what? To the University of Trinidad and Tobago. How come today he's making arrangement not only for the Cuba Hospital to be a part of the university assets, but also that, but agreeing with Kamala Prasad Bisesa on the Bay campus. I want you to take note, understand the pattern of behavior. A pleasant good night, welcome.
Good night, Mr.
A pleasant good night to you, my friend.
we have crime under control and serious crime is down.
Oh, yes, indeed. That is one of the phantasmagorical stories that we were told. It's not only endemic to the government itself and the ministers, but it seemed to have spread as a pandemic among government agencies, which, of course, the present administration wouldn't wink to control and to infiltrate. But go ahead, my friend.
Mr. LENNOX, but between me and you, you know we like to talk plain, but we're not living by the airport.
That's right. That's right.
We have to look into that robbery, because that could be staged in order to get security for what's coming. We can't trust them. Mr. LENNOX, we can't trust them.
Yes,
the Prime Minister tell we a plane come in and he didn't know who was on the plane, Shabazz, and we can't trust this government. They're like an illusion. So right now I believe in, until I get more evidence and information, that could be staged, because what's coming for them, all of them want security. Just last night we speak about that.
Yes, last night, yes, of
course. But on the other hand, this is the Minister of Debt now feel like how the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago has been feeling very aggressively for the last 9 years, soon to enter 10 years. So if it's accurate, he now feel how we was feeling aggressively for the last 9 years with the crime out of control, and they have a puppet there only going in the church, and when they can't go in the church, they keep in a press conference telling we serious crime is down and serious crime separate from murders. Well, I think that's what happened today was serious crime, and they had the gall to attack the national minister, the Minister of Debt, because he's not the Minister of Health, he's the Minister of Debt. He killed plenty. So I have to say, I don't know if it's staged.
But is the story?
Investigation is imminent.
But from your understanding, is the story he was the victim or his son? Because I'm getting two versions. I have not read it. It have not come to me prior to, of course, hearing it from the first caller calling from Canada. So
well,
what's your understanding?
Based on the video I have, he admitting that he get robbed, sitting down in front of his constituents. Two guys walk up to him, stick a gun in his face, and took a bracelet. And while he was explaining himself, I think, to the police, I think Fail Gerald Swine is what called him and was giving him some kind of advice. The same minister who is not to make us feel safe. And the last big devil who say he's not responsible for what is taking place in this country.
Yes.
Well, they now get a taste of what we had been getting for the last 9 years very aggressively.
Yes.
Everything that they do, because I want to tell you something, Mr. LENNOX.
Go ahead.
And I take no apology for that. Dr. Rowley and the PNM steal the last election.
Well, of course, that goes without saying. We have the proof, but we will deal with it. Yes.
The last election, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley and the PNM steal that election.
Yes.
And if you realize something, because you're a man of the cloth, you realize since Dr. Rowley started governing this second term, it's only mayhem. Nothing not happening for him. The first election, he said we a dream email gate to bring down a sitting government, right?
Yes.
Which was a whole heaping pack of lies.
That's right.
And then this one now, he didn't have to, he couldn't use the lies again, so he steal the election.
Yes.
And I say it without fear or favor. He stole that election.
Yes.
And this is why all these things happening. But I want to tell Dr. Rowley and the PNM, this is not even the smoke. What we have in store for all you. Mr. LENNOX, you have a blessed night.
Yes, indeed, my friend. Very, very, very aggressive and very, of course, informative as well. And whether people like it or not, these are the reality. And I concur with that caller. That, of course, the election was stolen. Of course, tonight is not the night for extrapolation, it's safe to say the obvious, and that is why the hell there was so much ballot paper being found in different parts of the country. Arima being more specific. And I say Arima being more specific simply because a couple of weeks after the elections in 2020, Grand Bay, a company, when Rowley came into government, quite apart from giving one of the trade union movement several $1 million, clearly as a reward as far as he is concerned, utilizing the state resources to give a reward to the trade union that would have assisted him in getting into office, lock horns, lock arms, walk down, of course, to Shagaramas and pull effigies and the mannequins of the then Prime Minister Kamala Prasad Bisesa. All of that they did. And on joint platforms, whether it be for what? For Section 34, the alleged Section 34, storming a teacup clearly, and of course the Rishmi affair, again, exercising futility, but extreme propaganda it turned out to be, because the matter did not cost Trinidad and Tobago a one damn cent, except of course the person didn't get the job. Today, the deliberate and conscientious acts of this malicious, evil, wicked, concocting government is costing Trinidad and Tobago billions. When one look at what Stuart Young family would have gotten, billions from a little known financial institution to now a merchant bank. Yes, or an investment bank, whichever the two is correct is irrelevant. The fact is that it has been flushed with Trinidad and Tobago dollars because of its connection to, of course, the cabinet of the country. And Rowley, of course, Gary Sobers are talking about Stuart Young and his family, and that is why that moved from a little known to, of course, a merchant or investment bank. Yes. And then, of course, not to be outdone, Al-Rawi and his family. So much so that they orchestrated the gutting or the evisceration, taking out the belly of the procurement legislation so that they could have their nefarious and corrupt ways as through the cabinet itself, removing the cabinet from the scrutiny of the procurement but the procurement regulator. Understand what is happening here. Deliberate. So that they could have their own mafia syndicate within the general syndicate, mafia syndicate of the PNM as an institution, and institutionalizing corruption, nepotism, cronyism, misbehavior in public office, and criminal conduct. Criminal conduct, people. Let us not waste time. I thought I should deviate a little bit because there's several issues that has come up that we have to address, but I thought in case I leave you in limbo, I don't want that. I want you to know that there is ample evidence, there is irrefutable evidence, there is copious evidence on every single matter that we would have raised on this particular platform, the corridor transformation, and of course on the other platforms, whether it be the Gong Reporter or the Observer, as the case may be. We have the evidence. We are going to expose you to the evidence. But the point I am making before my diversion is the fact that Kamala Prasad Bisesa pointed out and used Rowley as the case in point of fake vaccines. But Diyal Singh went, of course, and attempting to, of course, being the savior of health workers, and nestled his argument around that so as to gain sympathy. Why I'm saying that? Because of the recent revelation, and I want to ask the caller, of course, to send that information to me, please. I would love to get it, WhatsApp it for me, so of course I can play it if it is in the form of a video. But what you will see, just as how he attempted, but with a high degree of futility. Futility doesn't gain any traction, doesn't gain any currency. Yeah, it doesn't gain any oxygen. The people know them. So don't be surprised if, of course, when it happened to him or his son, all of them will rally around that and try to, of course, look for sympathy. Well, they have not been sympathetic to the population. They have been given the mantle of responsibility for Trinidad and Tobago across the board. And they must suffer the consequences of persons who, from time immemorial, who would have been given much. Much is expected of them. And therefore, when you have leadership responsibility, whether directly, vicariously, or otherwise, you must now pay the price, especially when you have been delinquent, when you have been mischievous, when you have been dishonest, when you have been dishonorable. Yes, indeed. Let's go to the lines. We have several persons that are willing to, of course, get involved. I will forego, of course, tonight any calls to any person that may be able to help us with our fact-finding mission on the corridor transformation, and just focus on the calls this tonight. Pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Yes. Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Are you hearing me?
Loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Right.
Yes.
I want to. Yes, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, there is terrible things are going on.
Yes.
And in the case of crime is a lifestyle. I am experiencing a lot in the area where I am at the moment, even if threats and things has sent to me and all the rest of it. Hear what? Where I am, there are people are placed and they are living a lifestyle. People coming in and going out, people just coming and ponging and doing. I don't understand what the government is putting in place to stop harassment, to stop the criminals from paying people to do things to people. How can the law put something in place for all this harassment, Mr. Smith?
Well, I can tell you that it is common knowledge that the government is part of the problem. Let me repeat that. And I'm not saying that by accident or by mere ad hominem, because I want to say it. The government is part of the problem. And we have seen that by the way they have conducted themselves. They have set up people, to use a common term, but of course more appropriately, they are prepared, of course, to use state resources, including financial and institutions, to undermine the rule of law. Yes, and at the same time engage in the subversion of the course of criminal justice. And those of you who believe that I am talking here because I want to talk or I have some kind of bias agenda, well, I want to give you the objective evidence. And the latest of them is that of the Vincent Nelson matter. And the fact that afterwards, after, of course, Anand Ramlogan and Ramdeen were charged for some very serious crime that would, of course, impact on their ability to continue to practice law. These are lawyers of extreme high standards. And Rowley and they created a situation with his Attorney General to set up Alan Ramlogan and Ramdeen and make a man give them a so-called bogus confession. I'm talking about Vincent Nelson. Vincent Nelson, to say that they gave him a bribe, he gave them a kickback, and that is against the law whilst they were in government. Yes, people. And quite apart from that, of course, all of you would know about, of course, the Brent Thomas matter, who the court says they kidnapped her from Barbados. That is the government work. The government is the problem. So, my friend, the point I'm making, finally for you, the solution is to kick out this government and let the UNC and Kamala Prasad-Bissessar get into government in order to, of course, solve all of these problems. Go ahead, my friend. Quickly.
Yes, because, Mr. Smith, I have wrote the government.
I just
wrote the
on my handphone. Yes, sir. Let me finish this one. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, caller. Yes.
Right. I wrote the relevant talk.
And what happened?
On what my company has been experiencing.
Yes.
But I haven't. But while it is under investigation, they have people occupying, and they are passing on the fraudulent documents to these people, showing them, and these people are really, really, following, and not only following, they have the people coming in and going out, that it was something that you never used to, and it just is starting to come on and come.
Yeah, there are trespassers that are taking charge, like those home invasions.
No, I wouldn't say that, because they put one person to monitor all the situation. Sometimes you see they end up articles. If I could fill it up on the Facebook or whatever, because this is serious.
All right, well, I know of your circumstance, let me put it that way, and I know that there's a financial constraint. Otherwise, of course, this matter might have been well on its way to resolution. But I assure you, the Lord doesn't give you more than you can carry.
Exactly. So while we are
just
waiting
a matter of time.
trying to build the money, they are doing more.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. Evil can never prevail over good, as we have seen with Rowley and they are evil, and they are now in a state of collapse. All right, thank you very much. Let's go to the next caller. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
Mr. Lennox.
Yes.
And I just forget to tell you, with the little rainfall that we get today, the Minister of Education, alias Bundles, well, the state I saw St. George's with the video that I have,
St. George's College?
Mr. Lennox, you could have used a pirogue to go through there.
Oh my goodness!
The roof was leaking. And why I say that? I know the minister said she spent $10 million.
Yeah.
Mr. Lennox, I can build an empire with $10 million.
Boy, I think I can build
10 million, sorry.
Yeah, I can build two empires with that.
If you see the state of that school today, the children have to cut across like Titanic sink and that go across on piece of board. We see the state of the school.
Oh my goodness.
And this is our taxpayers' money that these people played with. But as we say, this is the best they could do, They can't do nothing better. And nothing good wouldn't follow Dr. Rowley. And all who following Dr. Rowley, I want to make it categorically clear, they are following multitude to do evil. Mr. Lennox, have a blessed one.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And there is a saying to add to that, apart from multitude to do evil. Who the gods wish to destroy, they first send them mad. And madness here, insanity here, does not mean a mental state only, but it means physical conduct as well, because that incident is a physical one. Whether you want to call it obia, you want to call it curse, you want to call it poetic justice, you want to call it karma, whatever it is. Clearly, this state, this physical state, could have only been because of an abstract state, the genesis of an abstract state. Because let's face it, a belief is an abstract quantity. And here it is. We are seeing both abstract falling in line with, of course, physical to produce the disaster that is Trinidad and Tobago because of a group of individuals led by a person who is a total opportunist, criminal, pedophile, and deadly in more ways than one individual. Let's go straight to the lines. A pleasant good night.
Yes, Leonard, California here again, bro.
Yes, go ahead.
Let's talking about here what we know, right? I want to be very practical here now.
Go ahead.
Right? Now, if you go to the Gold Street and you buy items in the Gold Street and you come and cash it, right? And she tell you where you have to pay a cent tax or 2% tax. You will understand that because you buy items, you have it in your hand and you will understand you have to pay tax for that, right?
Yes.
If you put it in hardware and you buy item in the hardware and you tell you, well, listen, you have to pay 5% tax. Because it's objective, what do you call it? It's material. So you pay a 5% tax.
Yeah.
Right?
You could see it, you could feel it. Your mind is at ease. Yes, go ahead.
You tell me, or even you go anywhere you go on the country to buy things and tell you have to pay tax, you will pay. You work, they say you have to pay tax, you pay your tax. Right? They say you pay nice, you pay. But you tell me, Lennox, I'm coming back to this again. Right? I cannot see this. I had the rationality or the rationale in telling me that I have to pay property tax based on a rental value. I cannot see the rationale in that. That is irrational. And my question is, how the hell them win that in the PV Council? Because you tell me that I pay tax for something that I'm not indulging at all, not even falling or anything like that. You tell me I have to pay tax for my property on a rental value that I'm not renting. This is the whole, that's subjective. That's not objective, boy. What's wrong with these people? And these people rushing going to pay this tax, boy. And then when you check it out, they say property tax is based on your value of property. That has nothing to do with rental value, boy. But this country has to wake up, have to hold this government by the neck now, boy. Let's wake up, boy, wake up, all the sleeping. And you are listening again,
yes, my friend. Yes, my friend. And I want to tell you once again, I can only say that if we are to take your argument to its logical conclusion, or should I add another variable to it, it means therefore that the government has abused the parliament. Because if it is irrational, illogical, but they went with their slim majority, only 22 seats of the 41, the opposition having 19, and passed that in parliament. Clearly, it is an abuse of the parliament. No doubt. But of course, what was before the Privy Council was the constitutionality of the act, and not really the rationality for generating the formula for the calculation. Understand that, because that was not before the court. It was the constitutionality of the exercise. And here, of course, let's not mix it up. While he's talking property tax, I thought I should talk about the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority that recently got a blow by virtue of the PSA taking the matter to the to the Privy Council, and the Privy Council agreeing with the local courts that there was no constitutional breach in the implementation for the implementation of that particular measure introduced by this draconian and evil and Machiavellian studied, or should I say followed, government. All right? So let's get that clear. But of course there is an interconnectivity, and I thought I would link both of them together, because it is the very revenue authority that has to collect, of course, these so-called taxes that is associated, of course, with property. And of course we have not ad nauseum, not to exhaustion, but we also, of course, looked at the whole question of the history of Rowley and the property tax, and it's contrary to what is unfolding now. That is another matter that we, from time to time, will have to look at. That being as it may, a pleasant good night. Welcome.
Yeah, good night, Mr. Lennox.
Good night to you.
I was up in my way up in Vermont.
Yes, man. A pleasant good night to you. I am anxious. I am anxiously awaiting.
I'm walking. As I talking to you, I just dropped the trailer to unload. I walk in, You're
working, right? Good. Yes, man. Yes, and waiting anxiously.
I walk around the clock.
Right, great, man. That's how it is. It has to be if you want to get it. Yeah. I am doing the same by just being here, and we providing a facility so that we can chat is being cut out of the same cloth like you. But go ahead, my friend. Very industrious. Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Lennox, that thing. What I think for you, but when I go home, I have to ship that for you.
Okay, then. I appreciate that, man. Appreciate that.
Because I wear. When I'm going home, I have my little granddaughter's birthday, so I'm going home with her. Go send it up for you.
Yes,
but
I appreciate that.
If I order it now, I'll get it in 2 days' time. So
no
when
problem.
I'm ready to go down, I go down there, order it, I send it out.
Okay then. Thanks very much in advance. Go ahead.
Concern about that guy, concern about it, taxes, you know?
Yes.
My house, right? I'll give an example let a guy understand what I'm thinking,
Okay.
My house is based on the value of the house.
Yes.
Okay? They charge a 1%.
Right.
A tax. 1%.
In Trinidad, we have 2%, and prior to that was 3%. It was revised to 2%.
No, 1%.
All right, go ahead.
1%. Right? So let's say your house value 350,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's value more because they do based on that, because what I bought it for, right?
Okay.
It's $3,500 a year.
Okay.
The mortgage, it goes in the mortgage and they take it out from the mortgage. I don't mess with it.
Okay.
They take it out automatically.
Right.
And they take out like an escrow.
Okay.
So I don't have to pay that. The bank already paid it.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I can't see how you charge you guys down there of watching a house and charging what? Rental property. I have never heard that. Only time you charge a rental property, only you have it for commercial use.
Yes.
That is the only time you charge. You can't charge a person who own a house, a citizen who own a house and who have a commercial thing or have intention of having to rental.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because that's more for in the commercial area, the business area.
No.
Yeah.
It's a commercial thing.
Yeah, so therefore you should.
But I was explaining to the ground report and thing, but other people think I want to help them, tell them to come off it, but it's not so. But I have to explain how things work here.
I understand. I understand. Yes.
Yeah, and I try to make it not to pay that property tax because that's a whole racket. That's a whole racket there, man.
Yeah,
I can see how they I try to figure that out because this don't make sense. You know?
Yes. So you are in agreement with the caller from Cuba who is at his wit's end to rationalize that. Okay, go ahead.
He's not he don't have a commercial property to rent.
That's right.
And you have to approve for that.
But the government concocts some some theory, some abstract to say that it is, and then base their property tax on that, which of course it doesn't make sense. You're right.
Right, like I have a Jamaican friend, a lady across the street.
Yes.
Right. She live alone. She have a 5-bedroom house. So what she do now? She rent the room on them, but nobody knows that.
Right.
You know, the government do not concern about that. They don't care about that.
Right.
Because it's not commercial.
Right.
It's a personal house.
Yeah, your personal residence.
Resident house.
Yes, yes.
So I can't see all they going around doing all the kind of crap, man. I hope people take that nonsense over there.
Boy, I don't know, boy. We are more patience than Job. Yeah. And Rowley knows that. And as the perfect devil, he exploits that. The devil personifies. Yeah. He knows that.
Time, he knows that.
Yeah. So he will exploit that. But of course, to his detriment ultimately, because it is unanimous. He will lose the next election. And if he try a Maduro, let me say it here now, if he try a Maduro, lose the election and stay in office, they will assassinate him. They will. I'm certain of it. Go ahead.
And I'm concerned about DL Singh. They are sending a video about. I saw it today.
You saw it today? You sent it? All right, good. I appreciate that, man. I'll take a look at it.
And I write a note on it, and I was laughing. You know.
Okay, so, good, great.
It's some sort of the man traumatized. You can see man sort of like a little child. I like, he was traumatized.
No, that is theatrics. Don't take him serious, That's why I said immediately that is an opportunity to engage in theatrics and histrionics, and of course victim consciousness psychologically. Don't take it on. He faking.
I don't feel sorry for him.
Yes.
Mikey feels sorry for him. I don't feel sorry for him.
If Mikey is feeling sorry for him, don't take that seriously either. Rest assured.
He tried to be sarcastic there.
I am more pragmatic and more frontal in terms of my interaction with these people. I show no mercy verbally and otherwise. As I've said, if I see them in an accident and it's them, and I'm certain of them, and somebody else, of course, was in front of me and they got knocked down, I may well run over them and go my way to make sure that the mission is accomplished. Yeah, that is how despicable these people are. They are criminals.
They're not too bad.
Yes, they are criminals. Let's not waste time.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Mr. Rima, I like your comment, We'd like to see you back on, man. Yeah, miss you.
I had a conversation with her today, and she was as usual, very eccentric, let me put it that way, in her position. And I don't want to go further because I think we agreed to have a further discussion on the matter, so that her contributions.
Yeah, I like her remark.
Yeah, her objective contributions here could be
very educated, right?
Yeah, could be addressed.
All the time.
Yeah, she has a contribution to make.
Yeah, let's not waste the time. Let's get somebody else on here.
Okay then. All right. Thanks very much. Yes, indeed. Okay.
What's up, my brother? What's going on?
Well, of course, only hard work, and it is the season for should I say retribution. In this particular case, the people will of course descend like a thunderbolt on this government. But go ahead, I have another call coming in on the other line. Let me just acknowledge that. Pleasant good night, but hold on please. Lower the volume on your radio. Hold on, caller, lower the volume on your radio. I have another person on the line. I'll have to ignore that. All right, go ahead, caller. Go ahead. On the phone here.
Yeah. If you love yourself and you love your country, you would not vote for the PNM in 2025. People
you are saying that?
love PNM more than they love themselves. It has to be. If you vote for PNM, it's because you hate yourself.
I hear you, my friend.
Because that means you please with the current state of affairs in this country. You have to hate yourself to even acknowledge these people or even give them the nod for office. So that's what I'm saying. And that is my mentality for people going forward. If you love your country and you love yourself, you will not vote for the PNM in 2025. Simple as that.
Simple as that. Yes.
Simple as that. All right, Mr. Lennox.
Thank you very much, yes. And of course, the converse of that to people is that if you hate yourself, then you will do that. And no biological being, human beings being, of course, of a biological nature, would do that. So therefore, we expect that every single human being in Trinidad and Tobago, every citizen qualified, will certainly, of course, do what is right in order to save Trinidad and Tobago, because that is where the issue is. That is what he is referring to, and that is what we have to acknowledge as a fact. I got a video from my friend that I have on screen now. Let me just prepare it. It's raw, but I think it will suffice. It will suffice. Let me just make certain that I have it ready properly so that you understand what is at stake here. Yes, it appears that it's Dayal Singh himself that got robbed, and there has been some caricatures and some people stated that if your name is Dayal Singh, you are an endangered species. And don't bother to show your face in public, I suppose. That is what is happening here. But of course, rest assured, the PNM will try to make public heavy weather of it, advantage of it, because of course they're going to see themselves as victims, etc. And of course, Rowley, as it is, will of course go on to do more evil things, meaning that maybe tell police or give instructions to deepen and to widen the animosity against the people, and all that will do in turn, of course, is put everybody in further danger, including themselves, when he should be talking about calling a blasted election. That is what he should be talking about. You're going to hear him. Mark my words here. You heard it first on the corridor transformation. That Rowley will see that as an opportunity to, of course, unleash the dogs of war on the people. But, of course, to his detriment, because there is nothing he can do now to save his government, and everything associated with this government. But let's go straight to that video. It is. It seems as though it's a vertical video. So you're gonna see the black. Let me see if I could get rid of that in the meantime too. Let me see if I can get rid of that. No, I won't be able to get rid of it in the way that I would like. So we'll present it again clearly tomorrow, but I thought it was important to, of course, give you an appreciation as to what transpired there. So let's go there to that video that was sent to me and listen to this. That is, of course, Dayal Singh being interviewed, I think, by the police. So here he is in the picture.
But they have a car? They have a car?
Of course, I want you to observe the theatrics, eh? Yes.
So I am in St. Joseph in my constituency.
Yes.
5 o'clock, hot sun, bright sun, sitting outside Nyabingi Bar opposite the church with a constituent. 2 fellas walk up to me, put a gun to the head, and rob me of my bracelet. Just letting you know we're crying out. No, the police here, you don't have to, I'm just letting you know.
You see, theatrics, and you would notice it was for camera purposes. Let's play it again. Very interesting. You see, these fellas are political kobos, and they will want, of course, to look for sympathy.
Oh, they have a car? They have a car?
Let's go again.
Minister. So I am in St. Joseph in my constituency. 5 o'clock.
Like somebody don't want to see that, boy. Let me pause it and take this call. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Pleasant good night. Well, of course, I am enjoying, of course, the histrionics and the theatrics of these government ministers who believe that somehow they could still hoodwink the population by getting them to feel safe. In fact, I'm sure the majority are saying a damn good for him. Yeah, because, of course, of the evil that they would have unleashed by virtue of their office and the maladministration and incompetence. And I myself personally have no sympathy for them. He could jump high, he could jump low. Call an election. That is what you need to do. That should give you the impetus to call a blasted election. No election, no sympathy. Go ahead, my friend.
Well, the chicken coming home to roost.
Of course.
I hear he say,
yes.
But he say this is where crime has reached, but he failed to say this is where crime has reached under the PNM government. That we should be saying.
Or because of our doing. Take responsibility, yes.
You're supposed to include that, but he ain't saying that.
No.
I see a lady get robbed yesterday when they say maybe migrants coming there and rob the woman.
You on my handset. I have another caller at the moment. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, the woman lady yesterday.
Yes.
Ransack lady place T40 drill. Somewhere up in Santa Cruz, they rob some people there too. But he now getting robbed. Listen to me. You see, we're already PNM, so they have to reap. Terrence feel he can walk around like a peacock all over the place and immune to that. Let it come and visit them now because it is visiting all of we and they have no compassion for when it happened to we, LENNOX.
No, but it's interesting because he has sold out himself, in spite of the sympathy that he's looking for, because clearly he knew the camera was on him, and therefore he makes a call to say this is where crime has reached now. What is he saying? Is he saying that it ought not to reach him? Is he saying that he should be immune from that which he has, by their conduct, initiated? Is that what he's saying? Well, there can be no sympathy, but go ahead, my friend. I thought I should interject that.
Before I go, I see the Ukman Labas down in Barataria, boy.
You see what?
The Ukman you Labas down in Barataria.
So, I know that. Go ahead.
Yes,
Sir George's. Yes.
You have
the video. I'll put it up if you have it. If you send it by
no, I don't have it. I just saw it on TV6 there.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to tell you, right? The place get flooded, the roof leaking. If you see rubbish, David, all kind of nasty old bag, I saw a rat and all kind of vermin to be there outside that school. And all them parents, them hiding behind the camera. They haven't seen nothing,
The same roof alone that cost $10 million.
$10 million. And
wow.
LENNOX, the whole school under flood. That place, right? When that area they don't have flooding, They're not supposed to have flooding in this area.
That part of Barataria do flood. So I am surprised. No. And over the years, that school has been there, and there has never been a complaint about flooding. So it's part of the Likoto Jumbi that, of course, has now possessed the St. George's iconic secondary school. Go ahead, my friend.
And Dolly backing up all of that and saying it had flooding over the years over there. I want to know where she was when it had flooding, because I never had flooding there before. That area, Barataria, do flood. I know what I'm telling you, it do not flood. And you know what? It's good for them. It's good for them. Let the parents hide. Let the parents hide behind the camera. Let them sit down there and wait and watch. Let the children suffer. If you see rubbish there, good. Let it take more. All of them have to suffer because you know why? They want to stand up for their children's rights and they want to stand up against the government. They want to hide. Have a good night, Lennox.
Yes, indeed. And that reminds me, as I said earlier, is it karma? Is it, of course, poetic justice? Is it obia? Is it, of course, the evil that men do follow them? Any one of the above you can choose. But let's go to the line before, of course, we continue with the Alsing saga, histrionics, and the theatrics. Good political coborism, in other words. Professor, good night.
Good night, Lennox.
Good night.
Now, man, like people talk all night, but oh gosh, I'm not getting one now, man.
All right.
I vex with them fellas up there. Why them pop bulletin the Alsing head, boy? No, I'm serious. There was a pop bulletin in here and call it a day.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far, but I mean, but let me say, it was a possibility. Yes, go ahead.
So he feels nothing was going to happen to him now.
Yeah, he feels nothing was going to happen. Look where crime reach. What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
People on that rock. He was people on that rock all the time. He didn't know that. Yeah. He noticed the murder that's going up. But man getting bullet every day. So the rich man, you know, is a problem.
Yeah.
But he must stay home.
I'm not calling that. That's what he calling his colleague, Minister of National Insecurity.
Yeah, he can't help
as if he could do anything about it.
Yeah. Well, all right, Lennox, you take it easy.
Yes, man. I know people are angry. Not angry that worse could have and should have been done. Worse could have and should have been done. Not that they are sympathetic in any way, as I have demonstrated. But I was making the point before the caller that the incident of the St. George's, I don't have the clip. I am, of course, basing my position on what the callers, very credible callers, very conscientious callers, and will not lead astray. So that to lead me to say something that is not necessarily in facts, because this is about factualism, this is about pragmatism, this is about making certain that we understand experience is the best teacher. But this incident unfolding as it is, as far as St. George's College is concerned, and the use of $10 million, I believe it is another case of divine intervention for exposing culprits. Let me repeat. It is another case of divine intervention to expose the culprits that has done an injustice, or that have done an injustice to the students, to the parents, and the education of those who were supposed to be the beneficiaries of that institution and what it has to deliver as far as the education system is concerned. But let's go to the line before I give you the other example that it reminds me of. President, good night.
Lennox?
Yes.
Good night.
Good night.
They don't make a song already, you know. I think I'll send it.
Okay, good. Good. Yes, that's what they have to do. The people have to use all what they can and to throw it at them, right? Whether it's improvised like a Molotov cocktail, I'm not saying to do that. I'm just using that as an example, as an improvised mechanism to treat with this bunch of political kobos that has, should I say, last too long of taking the privilege to overstay their welcome, if there was ever a welcome in the offices that they hold. Go ahead.
But you find he too calm to be from beginning of a gun pointed at their head.
It's theatrics. It might have occurred, but he couldn't resist the opportunity to engage in looking for sympathy, hoping that it will galvanize all of his colleagues. That's what happened. And that's what is unfolding. Yeah.
But what's saying, Lennox?
Go ahead.
if you get robbed and a man point a gun at your head, you still had the audacity and the evil in your mind to make a video about it, before you study to go in your house.
But I tell you, he was waiting for the camera. He waited for the camera. That he couldn't miss that opportunity. That's how cursed these fellas are. You and I might have said, listen, I don't want to talk to anybody. I ain't talking to anybody. I will not stay there in public and so on. Or he did not say that, listen, he's not going to be intimidated and so on, you know. He said this is where it reached to. In other words, I must be immune from that which I initiated. That's why for me, that's how I interpret that. Because there could have been other words that he could have used in order to genuinely show a human response.
No, but what he's saying, a man point a gun to you and tell you, before you go home and hug up your family and say a prayer and say, thank God, nothing ain't happened to you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that you are saying the exact thing I'm saying. In other words, let me be more pellucid. He could have disappeared from the scene and have the journalists and them calling him and wondering, what has happened. But he stayed there. And I'm sure that, of course, persons would have been informed to take pictures as to him making that, what I consider to be, call that is unique, that is on, what I should say, unscripted, because it happened haphazard. So therefore, how come in a haphazard situation, a camera present and noting what you say about where crime has reached? No, he looking to galvanize, he looking to wash away the evil by that gesture of his colleagues, and at the same time invite Rowley to talk nonsense. You're going to hear Rowley talking about further measures to treat with, of course, his cabinet colleagues, because he don't want them to, of course, suffer what the rest of us have been suffering on a daily basis. It is a Russian roulette environment we are living in. Any number could call.
But what I'm saying, by he saying, look where crime reached, that means he admit that the whole cabinet and the whole government is failure.
Yes, that's what he has said. You see, and that's why I talked about, of course, who the gods wish to destroy, they first said they're mad. That is a piece of mad talk.
Oh, boy. All right, my friend. I'll send you the song. I know if you go, guys.
All right. Let me check it now. I'm gonna check it now. But you make a joke of it. I want these things bad. Yes, indeed. Yes, I wept for Terrence. Okay, I see. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it, my friend. I'm seeing it, my friend. I'm gonna try to, of course, save it now and convert it to song before, of course, the program completes. Let me go to this line. Let me go to this caller. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
LENNOX, California here again, boy.
Yes, man. Hey.
To feel the barrel that he had, how you feel? Right? People feel when they had to put it back them head. We call it come home now. It reached a heat. But that is the beginning, because here what's going on. It's only take one to start. You understand?
Yes.
And you see the crime? That crime not going to stop now. And whatever they get, they're feeling, because then he want to take away the people see that, and he want to take away make the people pay money for the virus that they have going around with the mosquitoes, and he want to bring out laws and bring out this and bring out that. They don't realize that one of the days the people go stand up to them, but why I so bad? You understand? And the story is alone. And let them feel the barrel by their head, just like how other people just feel it. But you're lucky they didn't pull the trigger. Anyhow, I'm not listening.
Yes, my friend. And maybe we could take a very short poll to find out whether or not that person, the Alsing said, robbed him of his gold chain or his gold wristband, whether or not that person would have known it is in fact, or it was in fact, the Alsing. I'm interested to find out from you whether or not you believe that person knew it was him and went ahead and did what they did as well. Of course, I want to tell you one time, it's very few people in this country would not know who the Alsing is. and I'm sure the environment where he would have been engaged in whatever activity he was taking place where that attracted, of course, the person to rob him. I'm sure it would have been one that would have been special, and therefore reinforces my notion that they knew who he was, or they knew who he is. Yes, indeed. That's my position on the matter. I cast my vote first, but I was making a point about, of course, the this. But let's play it again. And then, of course, we'll go back to St. George's. So we have two, of course. I didn't get the video for St. George's yet, but I got the music, and I'll play it later.
Two fellows walk up to me, put a gun to the head, and rob me of my bracelet. Just let you know we're crying about it.
Hines, the Minister of Insecurity, know where crime has reached, because it reached our person tonight.
Lennox.
Yeah.
I know send St. George's video for you. Check it.
Thank you very much, boys. It's a busy night tonight. Thank you very much. It's instantaneous news. You can't get that on TV6. You can't get it on CNC3. You can't get it on any one of the news platforms, except, of course, you are associated with the ground report, the Observer, and or the Corridor Transformation. A person, good night. Welcome.
Yes, Mr. Lennox, I believe the bandits nosy, and those are bandits from his constituency where they neglect now.
Right, yes.
So they're showing them what is going on. So I believe to noise him.
That's right. And of course, reinforcing what Christmas List was saying all the time. so it has come home to roost, so to speak. I'm sure Rowley is trying to concoct something now of a spectacular nature in order to offset and to deflect that incident. That is big news. Yeah, that is huge. That is big news, people. That is big news. Yes, indeed. I'm trying to get, of course, the that video with respect to Barataria at the same time. Yes. I'm seeing it here before me now. Let me just see if I could get a copy of it by way of downloading. Or I may have to treat with it from my system. Let's see what's going to happen. Let me see. Bam. See if I want to save it as a video. Yes, indeed. Of course, Barataria, Bataria, Barataria, St. George's, STGEORGE''S, St. George's College, COLLEGE. Right. Should I say flood? FLWD. Right. Flood compounders. MP. Yes. Compound, right. COM people. COM. Pure. Yes. All right. So that's that. So I've gotten it as well, and I'm going to, of course, if I don't get it properly downloaded, I'm going to play it from the Facebook page that it is being telegraphed to the whole world. All right, so here you got it. Of course, let's go to Terence the Alsing again. I think it's important to play it again, and then of course we will try to go to the other video. Yes, indeed.
So I am in St. Joseph in my constituency.
My constituency.
Hot sun, bright sun, sitting outside Nyabingi Bar opposite the church.
Looking for sympathy outside there now.
Two fellows walk up to me, put a gun to the head, and rob me of my bracelet. Just let you know we're crying about it. No, not the police say anything. You don't have to. I just letting you know.
And what he has done, people. What he has done? He called Heinz, but Heinz himself has been a victim of his own constituency. Not so, people? Yes, he has been a victim of his own constituency. He went there, of course, with his both hands, and the people of them flood out, and he went there with his bare hands. Man, they chase him out and beat him, and he had to, and they throw dirty water on him. They throw dirty water on him, yes, to make him know what time it is. So he is speaking to what I consider to be the previously christened and the vendetta and the venom of the people. That is what he is. That is whom he is speaking to. But let's go to, of course, that video with respect to St. George's. Yes, I'm going to take it straight off the Facebook page that it is being viewed on at this point in time. That is how instantaneous the technology is. Yes, people. I'm going to, of course, remove the Alsing from there, and I'm going to, of course, show you what is happening at not perfect. I will have it perfect tomorrow, but I thought it was important, of course, to just show you what we have because of the instantaneousness of the technology. So let's start it all over. This is what is happening. Of course, it seems to be a stage. It seems to be water flowing through some kind of auditorium. Classrooms are being shifted. Chairs are being, of course, removed. Yes, I want to make sure that you. Oh, you are not seeing that as yet. I am seeing it, but you are not seeing it. All right, so let me get some motion going there. Let me make sure and get some motion going there so you have an idea. So what is happening there? Let me just, all right, let's see if you can, right, let's see, you getting it, boy? Are you seeing motion, right, on the screen? It's supposed to be played in the background. I'm not seeing it playing in the background, so I have to do something else in order to get it playing. Is it playing? All right, yes, it's playing, yes, but you're seeing different parts of the facility, that educational institution. But let me just describe it for you. Yes, of course, chairs, I say, students are on top of chairs. Some are gingerly making their way through the waters. The waters, of course, not yet fully above their ankle, but certainly fearful that their shoes, new shoes that they would have been bought for the new term, does not rapidly deteriorate, and therefore mommy and daddy will be faced with the challenge of having to buy a new pair if it is water soaked, because these days clothing items, including, of course, the shoes, are not made for its durability, but for a specific short period, so that mass production necessitates that. You don't want a person like long time having, of course, a shoe for 5 and 6 years. You want to make sure that you get production going, and therefore if the shoes last 1 term, 2 terms, or 3 terms, and maybe a year, but certainly not 5 and 6 years. So there you have it. Of course, there's a young lady in a slipper who clearly is in the water because her slipper, at least the sole of the slipper, is partially submerged in the water. So that is the situation there. If you didn't get a chance to see the entire thing, as I said, tomorrow night I will certainly give a greater call. Let me see if I can get to the other video. Now I'm going to be looking for it now, so you will forgive me whilst I'm talking. Of course, whilst I'm narrating, I am, of course, looking for the information. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Very interesting night indeed, where we have so many, of course, moving parts at the same time, but demonstrating, of course, the blighted and the cursed nature of this administration. Or is it that it is a pure delinquency, corruption, nepotism, and this is the consequence? After all, $10 million was spent on the St. George's facility. Go ahead, my friend.
Lennox, they know you see, but they know not to take the phone because they got track it.
All right, I hear you. Yes. Like what happened to Imbert's son. So there are a number of ministers who have been subjected, whether directly or indirectly, to the prevalence or the prevailing circumstance of crime and criminality in Trinidad and Tobago. DLC, of course, being the latest. And of course, as we said, we have no sympathy for him. He should feel what the population is feeling. We are living in a Russian roulette environment. And therefore they must be accountable to the people. And if they don't, well, of course, then that is the consequences of that kind of maladministration. Okay, so this is okay. This is another baritary, right? Okay. So people, yes, I was making the point earlier about this incident with respect to this $10 million and St. George's College, because it appears that divine intervention in the context that the population must know all the evil that these people would prefer to sweep under the carpet, so that out of the gaze of the population, and because of the instantaneousness of the technology, and I should say people like myself are privileged of being able to manipulate, to use it, because it's one thing to have the technology, the next thing is to use it for, of course, the purpose for which we just or have been engaged right now, and that's to say, to see instantaneously what is transpiring, for example, on your screen right now in St. George's College, what transpired today, and of course what transpired as far as the assessing is concerned. Yes, indeed. But I want to make the point that it appears that there is divine intervention. Once again, I cannot overemphasize, because here it is. When Greenvale was flooded to the roof, first time, people were marooned on the roofs. They had to go on the roofs in order to save themselves. And of course, try to hire dinghies, they call it, and of course pirogues, in order to maneuver the floods in their neighborhood, in their community. I want to tell you that when we looked at the investigation, I was responsible for that. It turned out, under the Freedom of Information Act, that it was Keith Rowley, Rahel, former Mayor of Port of Spain. They were the conspirators to, of course, construct that housing development when Rowley was Minister of Housing. And I like to call it in a lake bed. Construct it in a lake bed. And what are the details? Rahel bought the property as agricultural lands. It was never converted for change of use. It was, in fact, determined by the town and country planning that would have been, of course, the reserve for the river, so that when it floods, so it would have been considered to be the floodplain, in other words. So when it floods, the excess water will, of course, accumulate where Greenvale was constructed under Rowley as Minister of Housing, and Rahel as maybe a businessman or real estate, whatever it is. But the fact of the matter is that agricultural land, it was designated by the Town and Country Planning, was purchased as if it was residential lands. Yes, yes, without any approval. In fact, when the succeeding minister in the Ministry of Planning, Dr. Botorari, investigated the matter, it turned out that there was no approval. And still up to the time that he was minister, and he had to move into action so the people could remain there and salvage, of course, their property by, of course, the government being magnanimous and sending crews and so on in order to assist and, of course, compensating people for their various losses, whether it be domestic appliances and furniture, etc. Yeah, That's what transpired at our cost to people. And of course, that does not take away the significance of the La Salle Trust. And I want to tell you, the La Salle Trust debacle again under Rowley. And then most recent, up to today, Mikey would have brought that issue, the trust trail matter up in the east. Yeah, where a similar situation of that of La Salle Trust is taking place, where they are destroying, or should I say, demolishing monies that were expended for the construction of homes and accommodation for citizens. Yes, people. So in one fell sweep, we have been able to show a connection between, or among, I should say, not between. Usually you use between to talk about two, and more than one you say among. Well, among them, yes. What are they? The St. George's College. Yes, St. George's College. The La Salle Trust, Greenvale, and of course that of the Trust Trail Housing Development. And there's one I'm sure that I would have left out. So that's four already, people. That's four connected to Rowley, one way or another, whether he was Minister of Housing or as Prime Minister today. Yes, indeed. What say you, sycophants? Are you still not convinced? Well, there is more to come. Stay tuned. There is more to come. We are not going to relent. Every single iniquity that this government would have perpetrated on the people must be exposed, particularly in this time. And I am talking about recent and contemporary, and of course, as old as 2 days and 3 days old, quite apart from those of the past in a previous PNM administration. But Rowley is a central culprit, the linchpin of all of these things that are happening in the country, and have the audacity, the temerity, the gall, and the effrontery, like the typical political kobo, talking about election dates in your back pocket and all that kind of hogwash. No! What is really happening is that his Bamsi is palpitating. He, Hines, and all of them, including, of course, the Alsing. And, of course, we heard today that the Alsing was robbed of their own doing. And there should be no sympathy. Don't tell me there's a human being. And no, if it was an ordinary citizen, fine. But since they're the ones who stole our monies, who mismanaged our resources, and who misappropriated both financial and material and policy positions, we must have no sympathy, because we told them in all certain terms that they have weaponized government against the people, and that their toxicity is so potent, is so unbelievably acidic. Yeah, the potency are unbelievably acidic. Acid, hydrochloric acid, if you want to call it that. That's the kind of acidity that these people perpetrated on the people. But let's close the people by, of course, completing what we started in the beginning, and that is to say, of course, Kamala Prasad Bissesa's expose on the Delcy Rodriguez matter and that plane, because I'm still not convinced that there is not a nexus between that plane and the plane that was seized by the American authority recently, that belonged to, of course, Maduro. And the role, I want to expand it, and the role of Caribbean countries or Caribbean leaders in breaching that sanction. Yes, the plane was bought by a fictitious company in the United States for what, $13 million US, and it was tracked to St. Vincent, and the St. Vincent Prime Minister, like Rowley, is saying, it wasn't me, I don't know, I am looking, of course, to investigate, and most importantly, divesting himself of any responsibility by saying, typical of Rowley, by saying that, listen, it is the what? It is the air controllers, yes, those responsible for the authorization of bringing planes into St. Vincent, landing and departing, yes, those engaged in that field, typical of Rowley, when if we didn't know what we know, he would have told us that one, it's a police investigation as far as Anand Ramlogan and Ramdeed is concerned. Yes, he would have told us that, and he was in fact telling us that. Whilst at the same time telling us that he want to, of course, put people that are of Kamala Prasad Bisesa and UNC ilk between 2010 and 2015 in handcuffs. He was saying that up and down the country. But now that the reality, just as the fake emails have come to the fore, he then remained silent, and in this case he's saying that the Prime Minister and the Cabinet had nothing to do with it. Hogwash. Just as how he was saying in the beginning that he had nothing, and he didn't know anything about, of course, that shortlist that went from the Police Service Commission to the President, and it was in reverse. After he made an intervention, of course, ultimately he agreed that it was him involved, only because Kamala Prasad Bisesa, the well done Kamala Prasad Bisesa, let us not waste time. It's you who made us know, because you threatened, of course, to impeach the president first in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, and that is when Rowley, of course, had no choice but to confess that it was he who made the intervention. Let us not waste time. And of course, in addition to that, we have the Brent Thomas matter. Up to now, Hines is saying that he don't know. He don't know. But of course, a particular plane that is designated for the CARICOM and its security and an emergency was initiated. And on it was, of course, police officers from Trinidad. A police officer who was the head of that particular area of law enforcement in Trinidad and Tobago escalated to the point of what? Of Deputy Commissioner of Police. So we know, we understand. So you don't have to be a rocket scientist. Maybe if you lack common sense, as the case, as they pretend he, Rowley and his gang to have, none. Yeah, they lack common sense. Common sense is not, in other words, as common as one would expect in a cabinet. But that is only pretense. It's theatrics, just as what we were delivered this evening by the Alsing. The Alsing, your ass and your other colleagues, asses are grasses. Let's go, of course, to Kamala Prasad Bisesa and complete that particular expose before, of course, we make our departure. So, of course, this is what she has to say. I will start from where we left off. I wouldn't go back to the original. I trust that you would have been following, and you have the opportunity, of course, to go back and see the entire program at your convenience.
Looking at the passenger manifest, I have both the arrival. This one is for the arrival. I've printed it large so we can read it better. At the top, you'll see the aircraft number YV3360, and this is for the departure on the same day, the 27th of March. So this is what is called sometimes a flight manifest or passenger manifest. So let's take a look at the names of the passengers. And today I want to ask Prime Minister and National Security Minister, did Ms. Rodriguez have in her company, apart from the flight crew, 5 other persons on that flight, one of whom was the president of PDVSA, Asdrubal Jose Chavez Jimenez, president of PDVSA. On that flight, the passenger manifest also shows Juan Vincent Santana Migliacion, Vice President of PDVSA Gas. If this is true, I don't see what they came to talk about COVID. These are people out of the petroleum company of Venezuela, the president and the vice president. Also in this passenger manifest is another person, Antonio Perez Suarez. He's the vice president of commerce and supply. The other passenger who is of interest there is Manuel Antonio Jimenez Herrera. He is an accountant of the National Constituent Assembly. But what is even more interesting, if you Google him, you will find also a director of, he's also the director of management as manager and accountant for the purposes of training, participation, accountability, delegating powers, and signing of contracts for the execution of works for the Assembly. And signing of contracts for the execution of works for the Assembly, and direct payment orders, advances to peers and administrators. So it's interesting that he's here as well. I don't see any expertise in COVID-19 or otherwise, except as a banker and an accountant. So these three persons were on the flight, in addition to Madam Delcy Rodriguez, and of course there was a person there who was the a security personnel for Madam Delcy.
Of course, we will pause here. We will continue, of course, tomorrow night. We will replay that entire. We will do justice to Kamala Prasad Bisesa, do justice to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, do justice to you, so that you are better informed. And because regurgitation is a fundamental for human, of course, retention of information. I think another day of this will certainly, of course, reinforce our ability to remember all of these instances, whilst, of course, we work assiduously, collectively, individually, and unanimously to get rid of this albatross, this beast that has suffered us over the last 9 years, and of course by next year 10 years, and still pretending as though an election is not imminent constitutionally. But as I've said, and I cannot overemphasize, if Rowley only play that he's a Maduro and he lose the next election and he want to stay in office by, of course, corralling the friends that he might have encouraged in the police service, excuse me, and in the law enforcement, etc. Indeed, if you only play that, this assassinated still, he will be assassinated. No doubt, not by me, but by the very elements that will want, of course, to reset Trinidad and Tobago and do justice for and on behalf of all of us in their own, what I consider to be should I say unorthodox style. Unorthodox is the proper word to use in this particular case. That being as it may, of course, people, have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. See you tomorrow. And of course, don't forget tomorrow morning, the ground report, Andy, Mike, and myself, as we continue, of course, to treat with these and other matters that are of tremendous concern to the entire nation. Yes, indeed. And I want to say that tonight demonstrates tonight reinforces my trust and faith in the academia, if you want to call that, in the interests of citizens who tonight not just brought to my attention information that I was not aware of. Yes, I was not aware of the St. George's matter. I wasn't aware of the DLC, but it was brought to my attention early. And here it is. There were others who were prepared, of course, to send the information so that we could play it because we have the technology. We're better than CNC3 and CNN and all them kind of. Of course, I'm talking locally, who would prefer to hide that and delay it and so on at their convenience. But you got it instantaneously as soon as the information. For what? For verification. There is no need for you to say that, no, I believe. No, you have to believe because you got the verification and therefore the ratification and the veracity of it, that is to say, the truth of it, cannot be questioned tonight. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. Don't forget, of course, tomorrow morning on the Ground Report, Andy, Mike, and myself. And don't forget, we have that television segment, the Gael, we are adapting and adjusting as we, of course, expand our reach to places that we never dreamt of just before we took to social media per se. Have a wonderful rest of the night. Once again, God bless. Bye-bye. Yes, indeed. And so, of course, them fellas had to be kicked in Parliament. But apart from that, they only laughing. But laughing with, of course, with a psychological burden of the obvious, not possibility, but of the inevitable blue lights and silver bracelets for Rowley and his entire cabinet and kitchen cabinet.
Item in this country where there is a good chance that a major part of the news is who kill who. We take the advice from the people, and when you have had enough of what we have done, you know exactly what to do.
We my people coming from heaven, they walk in the street with the thing exposed and we laughing. Everybody laughing, everybody glad, everybody kicks in a fun, we in Trinidad. Always reshuffling cabinet and up to now they can't do nothing yet and we laughing. They buy a boat and it never floats, instead we know it used to carry boat and we laughing. Raise the salary with a big back pay and retrenching for workers every day and we laughing. When election come and you wouldn't vote, all you saying is we go cut it throat and we laughing. Everybody laughing, everybody glad, everybody kicks in our fun, we in Trinidad. Hospital of priority, but they finish the money in the treasury and we laughing. It's got losing $500,000 a day, it's jam on the main road and the highway and we laughing. They went for Malik and the Guyanese, let no holler run up the hook with his and we laughing. Everybody laughing, everybody glad, everybody kicks in a fun, we in Trinidad. Some Barbadians say Adam shouldn't dead, a certain PM should have dead instead, and we laughing. He see Tobago and said tobacco, where he get his schooling from them don't know, and we laughing. Sideline the commissioner police, since that happened, look crime on the increase, and we laughing. The minister said crime on the decline, and in 3 months say more than 29, and we laughing. Everybody laughing, everybody glad, everybody kicks in up and we in Trinidad.
This is Caribbean Vibes.
Pass, you could see it building still and we laughing. While the boys industrial burning down, 2 little boys in a back room having fun and we laughing. No commissioner, 2 chief justice, I hope and tell the Pope about this and we laughing. The CJ wouldn't play my calypso like his I use any girl Toronto and we laughing. Everybody laughing, everybody glad, everybody kicks in up on we in Trinidad.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I think the government in this country should treat the people more seriously when they have their parliament meeting. Something constructive should be happening. I visit them one evening in the parliament meeting. But what I see happening? Like these people high over cocaine. Why is the speaker speaking? In parliament the Dixon. Eric with a newspaper reading. In parliament the Dixon. They want to stop old people from driving. In parliament the Dixon. Let them long say joke they making. In parliament the Dixon. Dixon all the time. Blowing everybody mind. Dixon all the time. Blowing everybody mind. I know this country have problems and there's nobody to solve them. The opposition making bros so the big boys could play in the house. We can't get lights, neither water. Look at the situation with Wassa. They only making confusion, billing calls for horses to run. Why is the speaker speaking? In Parliament.